4 or 5 of everything, and then they'll just sell them all off. So if you check out Uncle Tony's Garage on YouTube, and you go back a little, you can see, yeah, you got the kitty with you. Very cool. You can see he's got a lot of. He also has a lot of good information because all the ones he bought were, I think they were all local to him in Tennessee, and they all had some kind of a problem. And I know one of them he had to do a head gasket on. He was saying there was something peculiar with the 6-cylinder that you had to take the head off to do. I don't remember what it was now, but he gets into the ins and outs because he's wrenching on these things. And he's a good source if you got a little time to bump around YouTube. Uncle Tony's Garage. It's Tony DeFeo. And,
Brian knows some juice for me. But my theory is I'm not going to be driving it a lot. I'm going to be pulling it behind the bus.
Right.
And if something does go wrong with it, I'll LS it or put a monster in it. You know what I mean? Something.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah. Do that too. I mean, I know that if you get a decent one in there, I mean, it's, the good ones are good. I know there was something to stay away from, but again, Tony laid that out. I don't know.
Drop a Hemi in that bad boy or something.
Keep it simple. Keep it, reliable. Don't go crazy. You just go to the store,
Yeah, just to cruise around.
Yeah. Go to the store.
Let's get the fellas in and see what they're talking about.
All right.
I know Brian's gonna holler at me because he told me don't get a Jeep.
Yeah, here he is.
Hey, Brian.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Going on, Vince?
Hey,
Lewis.
There's the birthday boy,
Ray.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Fellas.
Vince, is your birthday?
Yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday! What are you, 28?
55.
Oh,
Double
you're catching
nickel
up to me.
Vince.
Double nickel. Or like I told Ray, you could say 25 with 30 years experience.
Right.
There you go.
Excellent.
You caught up with me. Good. Happy birthday.
Thank you for the birthday gift. And, I thought about that after you posted that thing about when you said the guy went in there and knocked the speed limiter off. And that's, and that's like Ray was saying, that's a really good deal, really good guy to knock the speed limiter off and turn your cruise on, because being a commercial, you got to remember, a school bus like that is just pick the kids up, take them back. It's the basic does the same thing every day, and they're, where you got it and you're going to take it on the road and run with it. So I bet he could look through there and find a bunch of other things too.
He said that my RPMs at 65 is probably the limit. I'd have to change the gears or do something else to get. He goes, red line is 24.
Yeah, because you don't want to, for driving like you did and I do, you don't want to twist those motors that hard because they're just, you're just going to, run the thing to death. But
I thought those motors could go $3,000 all day long. Don't take it to 32.
I had an old man.
Right gearing.
I had an old man tell me like this. He says, think of a diesel engine like a wick on a Coleman lantern. And if you've, like anybody who's ever used a Coleman lantern knows, you can prime it, pump that thing up, and turn that wick wide open, and it's bright, bright, bright. And what happens? It burns out quick.
Yeah.
Where if you use it and you get it bright enough where you got good light and just leave it there, the thing will last and last and last and last. So that's the way I've always run all of my tractors, the same way. I run them hard enough to do what I need to do, keep them maintained, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I would check with those boys in south of Atlanta there. I'm sure they've got a punk in there to, or as they call it in the trucking world, Ray, they call it a hog's head. They don't call it a pumpkin, they call it a hog's head.
Okay, that's a new one on me.
I was like, what? And that's a differential. And they call it a hog's head in the business, but.
So it's just a third member on a set of floating axles.
Yep. Very similar to like a Ford 9-inch.
It's pull the axles and pull
just
the chunk out.
Bigger. Yeah.
But,
so that's my list when I get home. Rear.
Well, get home, hell, you could do that in the parking lot.
Come on over.
Right.
Just the biggest pain on those is when you take the cap off to take the axle out. They have a cone shape locking ring, and there is a special tool to do it. But if you take a chisel and a hammer and you just gotta smack it, you don't want to destroy it because you got to reuse those to lock that plate down. But then you have the 10 little rings, and then you just slide the axle out a little bit, unbolt it, and then pull the third member out. It's heavy as hell. You might get yourself and the wife down there.
I'm not a truck mechanic by any stretch.
That special tool?
Huh?
Do you know anyone that sells the tool? The special
Yeah, I do.
tool?
Yeah. I'm sure the Snap-on guy's got one.
Oh, okay.
Harbor Freight? Can you get at Harbor Freight?
No, you can't get it at Harbor Freight.
I'll tell you this: I'm not a truck mechanic by any stretch, but I had to take the axles out of our tow truck, and it's exactly what I had to do, and use the chisel to get it out. And I said, "There's got to be a tool for this." I think Brian, I must have asked you about it, but AutoZone had it.
Do they have the tool?
Yeah, I bought one at AutoZone for like it was $20.
There you go, Lewis. Go get the part, bring it over, and we'll do it in my driveway, in my backyard.
Hey, if I can find one, I'll
get the.
You're not that far away now.
You need you got those young kids to throw that thing up on somebody's back to roll that thing out.
Don't forget to get your 5 gallons of gear oil that you're going to need for that rear end.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's a stinky job right there, man.
So that's 5. It's a pail per diff.
Wow.
Eaton Fuller transmission's the same way. It's about a pail, about 5 gallons. The Meritor's, I think, is about 4 or 3.5, 4 gallons. So Meritor, which I could never tell the difference driving the Meritors versus the Eaton Fullers. But the Eaton Fuller's got a little bit more capacity, but again, keep them full of oil and grease the U-joints and send her down the road.
Yeah, my Allison took almost 5 gallons, like 4 and some change.
Yeah, I don't remember what that. Like I said, when I serviced that diesel pusher that I had, I had way too much of that. I forget what they called it, that Allison spec fluid, which at the time was $35 a gallon. Now that stuff is $65 a gallon.
Wow.
I was going to say Dextron's $10 a quart, so that's $40 a gallon.
Yeah, it doesn't work in an Allison.
Yeah.
Still, I'm bitching about the price of a quart of Dextron.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
I bought a quart of GM Synchro Mesh fluid for my transmission. Cost me $20. So yeah, it is what it is. But you know what? If you don't want it, don't pay for it. I said if you got to add it, you better pony up that 20. What are you gonna do?
Think of it this way: $35, $40 a gallon versus $5,000 to $6,000 for a new one, plus the labor to put it in.
And you're still paying for the fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. There's no way out, boys. No way out. Exactly.
So a couple nights ago, I was digging through some stuff, looking for something to keep working on the Cadillac, and I came across a Gene Winfield poster that I picked up somewhere, and it's just always been off to the side. So I went ahead and pulled it out, and then we all got the news. So there's that one of Gene.
Yep. That's floating around on the internet right now.
Yeah.
This one is?
Yeah. Yep.
It's from 2008.
Yeah.
Yep. I've seen it today.
Lewis, you're in Melrose right now?
Yes.
Oh, Gainesville's 20 minutes away.
Yep.
Really? That's where you're at, Keith?
No, that's where Gator Nationals are. You'll probably, I bet you could probably even hear the cars this weekend.
How far are you, Keith, from where Lewis is?
It's like 2.5 hours.
So run down to that dealership, pick up that Jeep, shoot.
He already tried having me go to Tampa to some shady place.
Yeah, I was like trying to get him to go to the hood. I was like, hey,
did you see that one? It was like $14,000 with $2,000 down. I'm like, no, this is that's probably and it's all in half Spanish and half English. I'm like, this is not I don't think it's a good deal. That Jeep Depot place, that place I would buy from, but his price is a little bit high. But he reconditions all the Jeeps before he sells them.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go back on and check him out again.
Yeah, check out Jeep Depot because that's literally. I passed by it twice today. And all he has is just Jeeps, and he has some other 4x4 trucks.
Ray, did you hear the news out of Gainesville this week?
What was that, Vince?
Brittany Force ran the quickest ever 8th mile.
No,
yes, I heard that.
300 in the 8th mile.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like just mind blowing that fast in an 8th mile.
Limiters coming soon.
Yeah.
Well, they've already done that. I mean, they've already cut it. They run
Sure
it. They run
yeah.
1,000 foot, not 1320. They're limited to a 3 gear ratio, like a 3 or 3.0 gear, and that's it.
They used to use the restrictor plates. Yeah, I mean, there was all sorts of stuff they've done over the years. Yeah, they'll do it. They'll restrict it.
They'll have to make him carry a 50-pound sandbag with them.
You know, they cut them back on nitro. They could do that too. They could knock the limit down on the nitromethane, and that would slow them down because it's not. You know, it's funny because nitromethane explodes in the cylinder. It doesn't ignite. It explodes. That's why. You watch the videos where the guys are, where they start them up and they're bumping through the pipes and everything, and all of a sudden they reach over and hit that knob, and all of a sudden the thing just starts cackling, and that's when he just put the nitro to it.
Yeah.
The crack.
I might run over there.
Yeah, that'll be a good show. I've gone, I think, twice to Gator Nationals. It's a good show.
Being in Savannah back in the late 70s and early 80s, we used to go to them every year because I knew a lot of the guys who would go bracket race, or not bracket race. They run super gas and run some of the they call them sportsman classes, but they would go run the Gator Nationals, and then so they'd run their classes between the main events and the Top Fuel. My dad is from a little town outside of Detroit called Richmond, Michigan, and was in a car club in the 50s with Connie Coletta called the Bearing Burners out of Mount Clemens, Michigan. So, some of the crazy stories of what Connie would do. Yeah, it's all true. He was nuts. Absolutely nuts. He would loot, they would not qualify for the event, and then he'd buzz the drag strip in his jet. Just nice guy, but I mean, he's got his own priorities. But growing up, we would go to the Gator Nationals. It was a good time. It's worth going to.
Yeah, I go over there and hang out with Caps and Jack Beckham.
Fast Jack. That's
Fast Jack.
Fast Jack. Yeah, it's always funny though to look around when they run the fuel cars. The people who have never been around a fuel car.
Oh yeah.
And they don't understand that 10 to 12 or 13,000 horsepower, and that when they
sound
that pressure wave when it hits, when they launch those things.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
If I find a Jeep, I'll probably go. But if I don't want to take this over here, being a mess of traffic and parking, and it'd be a mess.
We'll get you parked up front.
Your media, you just go straight in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vince, we had a show here every year. It was a cackle fest at a guy's Goodyear dealer, and we had a couple guys here that had. Well, my friend Billy Lynch had a Top Fuel and a gas dragster, from the 60s and 70s. And there was another guy they brought in, the In-N-Out Burger funny car, and we had a guy here that's got an alcohol altered, and they would start him up and cackle him. And Billy would start it, and then run it on nitro. And my partner Chris, I remember one of the first times we were there, and I said to him, "Hey, have you ever been around a nitro car?" And we're in a parking lot, we're not like in the pits or whatever. He's like, "Yeah, no, well, I've seen him at the track." I'm like, "No, but have you ever been like this close to one?" He's like, "No." And I said, where's your ear protection?" He goes, "Oh, I don't have nothing." I'm like, "Oh, really?" So
this would be good.
You know what? Luckily, I was a nice guy, and I thought of it, and I brought 2 pairs. So here, put these on. And we were standing against the glass wall of the building, and literally, you felt the glass moving behind you. You know what it's like. And when that nitro hits you, it just hits you right in the throat, just locks your throat up, and then your eyes tear, and you're like, "I like it." And you're like, "Give me more." Crazy stuff. So yeah, you're right. People don't know what they're in for.
Yeah, we were a buddy of mine. We were laughing about that the other day. same thing. He had been, his dad had run a fuel car, back a top dragster car in the 60s, and the people who, when they would get ready to get ready to start them up, they would start running for the running to get close to them, and everybody that get around one starts backing up a little bit.
Right.
This is like it's that sound wave, that nitromethane. Like you said, your throat, your eyes, and you're just like, oh, this is.
I mean, we've all been in bars or concert halls and cars where you can feel, the amps going through you, but there's nothing like a nitro car, man. I mean, every organ in your body vibrates and shakes and lets you know that it's feeling it. That's cool stuff. That's cool stuff.
Well, you get kicked in the chest when one of those cars launch.
Jimmy, did you ever go to that? Did you ever go to that show at the Goodyear? It was in Baltimore.
No, I heard about them, but I never went. I wish I had, because
we went.
There's nothing better than the sound of a nitro car.
And he would do it right out in the parking lot. Like I said, Dina and Drew Parisi would come. They brought their car a couple times, so it was all local people, that helped played into it. It was just a nice afternoon of, hot rods and cool stuff. So yeah, it was well worth it.
Yeah, every once in a while I come across a video on YouTube or Facebook rather, where it's first time ever seeing a nitro car, and the actions are great.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had Chris sent me all the in-studio videos he took. This is going back years ago, so I'm going to put one up every week, and I have two of them in there. One of them is Billy Lynch's Top Fueler, and the other one is the Pace's Altered. So I'll be putting those up too.
Oh, no, I'll look at those.
A lot of fun.
There is a great video. It was in Europe, and they started up a Top Fuel car. So when they started it up, everybody starts coming around and they're watching and then listening and all this other stuff. And then they give it a throttle whack.
Yeah.
Everybody runs.
Yeah.
Everybody runs away like, oh my God, it's going to blow.
That's when the rubber meets the road. Yeah. Right.
I miss Raceway Park because of that, man. I went to the National so many times.
Yeah.
But getting back to your issue with your bus, Lewis, they do make 355 gears. I've seen a couple with 238s in some of the Freightliners. So there is a pretty decent selection of what you've got. I mean, I bet that thing's probably got like a 390 gear set in it.
I think 4 or something.
Oh, geez.
410.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably. I bet you.
Well, it's the first truck I ever bought. It was an old converted JB Hunt truck, and that truck had 433s in it with a double overdrive RMX Rockwell, and even with the double overdrive transmission, that truck still 65, 67 down the road. It was just buzzing that little L10 Cummins. And so again, it ain't making no horsepower. That motor's a whopping 330 horsepower diesel. So it didn't make sense to twist the guts out of it. You're not going to go any faster.
Yeah, he said my horsepower was 215. He said most buses are in the ones.
Oh wow,
Sorry? That's not bad. But as I know that that DT 466, they did offer them in higher horsepower configurations. And then that's going to come into your injector timing and injectors and different stuff like that. That's like when I bought this International that I'm driving, it was 435 factory set. But the guy looked at it and he goes, the way these motors are set with the injectors that are already in it and everything else, he goes, you can turn this one to about 625 with no problem. But I'm like, again, it's that I've always had that philosophy, like that old man told me. Yeah, you turn the wick up, but you're just gonna use it up faster. So there's a fine line between how much horsepower do you need, and so I mean, if you got that motor set probably about 3 or 325, Lewis, you'd probably be happy as a clam at high tide.
Yeah,
it'd give you plenty of torque and horsepower to pull your truck and do what you need to do and still get.
I keep losing you guys. Is it me breaking up or you guys?
I think it's you. Yeah.
Yeah, your video.
The video's all fuzzy. Yeah,
we're pretty. Yeah, your video's been in and out a little bit. Yeah,
but yeah, that's not. But like I said, if that was mine, I would shoot for like 320 or 300, 325, and you like I said, that'd be enough horsepower and torque. You could pull your truck with it, and not have any issues. See what happens when he resets it.
well, it's like Vince, Brian, and I were talking about that, and saying that's exactly what happens. When you put a car on the road, that you built anything other than stock, and you don't know. You don't know really what's going to work right and what's going to have to be changed, and it's a rolling test bed. So, and I know a lot of guys got pissed off like that, where they're like, "Oh man, I spent all this money and now I got to do this again." Well, yeah, dude, you know what? That's kind of the nature of the beast. Unless you're doing it stock or exactly what somebody else did, there may be some things you want to change, and I look at it like, hey, that's fine. Big deal. It's just all part of the build process. But
I remember seeing a clip on like a Jay Leno's garage, and the car builder, it's the guy, he's one of the car builders that's in Vegas, I think, and he's the one I cannot. His name literally just popped in my head. Steve Stroke.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He did that Fairlane with the camera motor in it. God, that's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
And they were talking, and they're driving it and all that. And Jay asked him about, because it's Stroke would just tell him it's going to be like 2 years, because that's what it is. He says it's going to be by the time we build the car and do this and that, and he goes, it's going to be 2 years, and that's just as fast as we can get parts and we builds we've got now, and he always made sure, and he told him, when we deliver the car, it's going to have 300-400 miles on it, because he goes, I can't in good conscience deliver a car with like 2 miles on it, and the blinkers don't work right, and this doesn't work right. And he goes, so once we finish the build, we take it out and we drive it and make sure that the thing shifts like it's supposed to, and the blinkers work, and the windows don't rattle, and the seals are. And he goes, there's just no way to do that other than to drive it and put some miles on it.
Absolutely.
So, and most of his people understand it. When they get it, it's perfect.
Yeah. Thinking of that, now that my sleep pattern has changed and I find myself up at all hours of the night for various reasons, Brian, I want to ask you, I caught some of Kindig show the other night, and they were doing a fastback Mustang. It was season 7, episode 7 was when the first episode of it, and they kind of mocked up like the rear quarter panel extensions. They 3D printed them to kind of flow into a little spoiler on the back.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't get to see, like, I fell asleep. I didn't get to see the next episode, but I was curious if you saw the episodes of that car and
yeah,
and how it came out, because I'd love to know. It looked like they were doing of course they were doing a ton of work to it, but I was wondering what else they did to it in their own.
Yeah, they actually they sell those. I just have regular ones, but they do sell the end caps.
Oh,
and they do have it with the built-in. It's actually flared out, and
right.
they changed the trunk lid.
Right.
And I thought about it. I kind of like that look, but they're pain in the ass.
Really?
To get the end caps. The end caps on these cars, none of them fit right from the get-go.
Right.
I mean, I have when I had mine done, my quarters done, and the end caps, I went through. I have 2, 4, 6. I have 10. I have 5 sets. And the guy went through all of them to find the match to fit.
It's like I hear an echo, because I have quarter panel extensions on my car too. They're bigger than that. Mm-hmm. And when the car went through the body shop and paint the first time, I brought 5 sets of them and said, what do you want to see? Because we were talking about finding the best fit. And they did. They found what was best. But when I got the car back after it was painted, I said, now my car was hit on the right side, so there was old damage. Things are never the same. The left side fit better than the right, and it wasn't off by a lot, but it was enough. I saw it. It would have been nice if it wasn't like that, but I wasn't making a big deal about it. Now that my car went back in for more work and got repainted, they addressed it and said, you know what, we really should have hit this the first time. And now they made sure that everything, they did what they had to do. Let's put it that way. That's body man's lingo for don't ask. It's a secret sauce.
Well, that was like, the front, the headlight cover. I mean, the headlight nose covers.
Mustang has the same thing, right?
Same thing. I mean, I have a handful. And actually the funny part was when I had that all done the first time, because when I need fenders now, right. But the first time I had it done, I had 3 sets at the time. I had the original and I had 3 other sets, and we ended after going through all of them and trying to get them to fit. We ended up back with the original ones on the car.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this one has a gasket. I don't know if you could see.
Yeah. Mine takes a little black gasket too. Yeah.
Right, and then they did away with the gasket because that was a problem. So
really?
Actually, on the car now, I have one with the gasket and one without.
Okay.
And like I said, so I've gone back and forth because, like I said, I like I've thought about having the flare or like the ones that they did.
Yeah.
But man, every time I've seen them in person, they none of them fit.
Okay, fair enough.
And they take a lot.
It's a nice touch. It depends how critical your eye is going to be. Like I said, on my own car, I saw it. It was off. It didn't stop me from using the car, but now that it went back again, it was like, yeah, let's fix that.
That's when you were joking with me because I would love to make these metal,
right,
and then have them welded onto the quarters.
Yeah, that's impossible.
I watched a guy. He had fabricated the end caps into a plastic or a fiberglass bumper.
Oh wow!
So it's all one piece, and that looks really clean. I mean, I like the way it looks.
Yeah. I mean, he 3D printed them, and he went on to say the process they used and the plastics they used made it very workable and very very bodywork friendly and paint friendly. So I guess they did their due diligence. But I was really impressed with the way they were doing the roll bar in that car. They were really keeping it tight, as tight. They actually sectioned part of the support on the roof in the back.
Yeah.
To keep it tight. And I said, man, that's attention to detail.
I had that's one of the things. The guy that had done the floors in the car, he had taken the roll bar for it and built the floor so that it would be tight like that. Mm-hmm. The only problem is he had left it. Of course, this was all done, almost 30 years ago. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
But he had left all that stuff because he's like, you can't, you have to put this part together and then weld across the top because how tight it is. You're not going to take the roof off.
No.
And then, you slide the other parts in, and he had left it all. It's kind of funny how much you forget. Once I've gotten started in this, I realized how much stuff that he didn't put back because he knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'm supposed to get the mini tubs so I can finish cutting them out. And do that. Talk to a guy on my rear. Like I said, it's slow. It's a slow process.
It is.
But I tell you one thing though, I said, well, I don't know if you noticed the car's in I said, I'm done moving stuff around, man. We're going to get to work on this. I said, we got to start making. I've already been told that we don't work after 10 o'clock.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're beating on the I drilled out all the spot welds for the fender and everything, and I was down here beating away, and the next day I was like, can we kind of at 10?
Yeah.
And I'm like, usually by the time I get home, eat, take my nap, I'm ready to start working at 10. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
So,
Brian, just to let you know, the Fairlanes in the comments have that same issue with the end caps on the fenders on the front and rear.
Yeah, they all did. I mean, well, it's pot metal also. I mean, so you gotta. And it's not a. They show guys sanding on them and beating. You can only do so much that way,
right.
or you're trying to fill it back.
Well, the one thing you can't do is you can't heat and bend them because it's pot metal.
Yeah.
But you can, manually manipulate them. It's metal, it's malleable. So, like I said, mine came out great the second time when they really paid attention to it. And I don't even know what they did. I mean, it could be a matter of even just elongating the holes where the pins go through so you can move it out or up a 16th. Because that's all it needed was a slight adjustment. So
I remember, and then there's a picture. I'll have to get it out. The day I got the car, and the day I had got it home, the first thing I messed with was one of the end caps because it wasn't sitting right on the car. It was crooked or it wasn't lined up, and I spent forever because you tweak it here. And it's like, okay, and then it's up too high here. And like I said, because it's a funny shape, but it goes around the whole corner of the car.
Right.
To get it. And man, I messed with that thing. And I'm not gonna lie. I envy anybody that's a body person.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the patience.
Oh, yeah.
And I've gotten better because I forced myself. But I'm dumbfounded when a guy can take and cut a section out of a car and then take another section and put it right back in that car and put it back together. And you're like, holy crap,
It's almost like, doing something like that reminded me of like when guys do, my friend Jeff, he does glass and when he does the window adjustments, it's like a little bit here, a little bit there, stick a stick in it and do this. And he says, it's not an exacting science. You just got to have a feel for it. Like, hell yeah.
That's like I said, I've had, of course I got a couple buddies that are body guys, and it's funny because I'll mess with it. And it's funny because I'll say something and they say, oh yeah, we'll just loosen this up or get a 2x4 and tweak this. And I'm like, dude, that goes back. And I joke about it. When I was starting to work on cars and I was working with this guy, Ruben, at the station, it was funny. We had this carburetor. This is all back carburetor, and it was running kind of funny. And Ruben takes this little hammer, this little 2-ounce ball peen hammer, and goes over and rap on top of the carburetor.
It's not the first time I've heard that.
And, and the car smooths out and runs great. We're done. So he's like, okay, go do the tune-up on that. It was actually a Chrysler. It had a thermoquad, big old thermoquad on a big old plastic thing,
Right.
And go do a tune-up on it. So I go over and I put plugs and cap and I'm doing all this shit. Car runs like crap, So what did Brian does? Oh, well, Ruben hit it with a hammer.
Oh, yeah.
So I go over, take a hammer, rap, boom, cracks it, cracks it off, and got fuel blowing all over the place. And I'm yelling and screaming. Ruben comes around and goes, what the hell are you doing? I said, well, it was running like shit, so I hit it with a hammer. He goes, what, are you stupid? And I'm like, So I always think it's funny. I like I said, when I watch my buddy, he'll, with a door, he'll grab a 2x4, lay in the door jamb, and muscle the door, and it's perfect. If I would have done that, would have, dragged across the paint.
I think I told you a story once. I had an 81 Caddy Eldorado, and they have big doors.
Yeah.
And mine sagged a bit. It didn't want to close right. And I actually bought door hinges. I have them. I still have them. Brand new. A set of brand new hinges from Caddy. But my friend TJ, who's a great body man, he said, you know what? Let me see. Maybe I can adjust it for you. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if what you're going to be able to do. And he's playing around and doing this and doing that. We're spending a few minutes with talking. He says, go get me a 15/16, a 3/4, and a 1-inch deep socket. I was like, dude, nothing in this car has those sizes. He goes, just get me the sockets. So I did. And I thought he was going to throw them across the street or do something stupid. And he just looks and he found the one that he wanted. And he lays it in the hinge. And he closes the door on it very gently. And then he stood back and he went wham on the door. I'm like, holy shit. What? And he opens the door. The socket fell out. And then he pushed the door and it went click, click. I said, dude, that door hasn't closed like that since it was new. He goes, you're good. He goes, you're all right. I'm like, how did you? He goes, don't ask. He goes, don't ask. He goes, because I don't even know what I did. He goes, I just know an old guy taught me how to do this. And I'll tell you what, fast forward now, that's got to be 35 years ago. At the shop, I saw the body guys over there. I saw there's an old timer there, Steve. I saw him do it. And I told him the story. He goes, oh, yeah, he must have been, he's around the same time as me. He goes, yeah, the guys used to teach you that. Yeah, they don't do that anymore because now the hinges are just strap steel. And, you blow it off the door. But those guys are true craftsmen. They really are. Scare the shit out of you, man. Don't watch them work. It's like watching the sausage being made. You don't want to see it. Nope. Yeah, you don't want to know.
Is that like setting a panel gap with a 2x4 that's got carpet on it and a hammer?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all smoke and mirrors.
So I'm noticing that my internet service, I'm using Starlink and it's working pretty good, but I keep losing you guys, like breaking up.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to get a backup internet for the bus. Anybody have any suggestions?
I would look into what you have first. It's probably buffering, and it may be you have the buffer setting set too tight. I'm just throwing it out there because I know that's kind of, with audio and video, that's usually an issue. So I would look into someone who knows Starlink, who maybe can help, maybe help you tweak it.
Right.
Because video looks good now, Lewis.
Yeah, when it's good, it looks real good.
Yeah, I got a new camera.
Yeah.
And it moves with me.
Right. Oh yeah, that's cool. My buddy Mike had a little tripod that he bought off of Amazon, and he was doing some videos with stuff. And he says to me, "Here, you may want to use this if you want to video yourself working on the cars." I'm like, I don't really want to do that. But he says, "Yeah, it'll follow you." I'm like, "What?" So he showed me, set up the phone on it. And yeah, it would basically follow you. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. They make really good, expensive versions of that, but this was just a cheapy, just play with it off of Amazon deal. It worked. It was kind of cool.
Technology is crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't use one of those that follow you. I'm too fidgety. I move around too much.
Well, that's what I told him, years ago, my guy was doing our web work and all. He was telling me, yeah, you got to do video yourself at the shop. I'm like, dude, I said, I'm up elbows deep in grease. I got tools hanging off me. There's parts flying around. I said, where am I going to hold the camera? And do it with one hand. It's like, So he's like, well, set it up on a tripod. I was like, man, I put a tripod under the car with me. It's toast because my foot's going to catch that thing and send it because the drop lights, I'm always kicking into them. It's like that camera's got to be the boy in the plastic bubble or it's going to be dead. So that never happened.
Well, and then to top it off, if anything pops or comes loose that you're not prepared for and your cheeks get to walking, when you walk yourself right out from under that car faster than you got under it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Keith, what camera is that?
It's the DJI Osmo Pocket 3.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Small, and it does just what you said. It follows.
Yeah.
You can't see it.
What does something like that go for?
The gimbal right here. This is $500.
Okay.
Came with a bigger battery, a tripod, the little piece tripod. I don't know.
I think I'd rather buy a nice new wrench set or something. You know. I don't know.
For YouTube, it's cool. I just stick it on the tripod and walk around. And it follows you around.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, who shot the video of you doing the power steering on the Mustang?
Okay, that's the guy who owns the Mustang, and he is a videographer. Now it's funny because he is a pro, and now he told me he wants to get away from behind the camera and he wants to start doing production, doing producing or whatever. I said, man, with your talent, now the camera he's using, it looks like an SLR. It is an SLR, a DSLR. But what he did is he bought a new lens, and the lens sits in front of the camera on its own gimbal, and the lens is just a round ball. Like what Keith had on his, but a little bigger. It's got a bigger, more focal length and a bigger image sensor. And that ball, he's got a handheld controller on the rig. So he was saying the problem is whenever you want to look at something up under the car, you'd have to turn the camera up or down. Now he just controls it, and the camera
moves. Yeah,
it goes 360 degrees. So the camera goes up, the camera goes down, and he just stands still. Plus, it's all gimbal mounted. He could walk around. So he was following me through the process. I mean, the video that he did was, I mean, it posted, that was maybe like, I don't know what, a minute or so. I mean, that's hours of work. We filmed for like probably 3 or 4 hours. Of course, a lot of it, obviously, you don't show, but
can you even see this?
Yeah, that's actually, that's a pro rig, and and he was just using the lighting in the shop, which was not great, under the car, no less. So
I like this.
No, it was like I said, it was when you sent me the link and I watched it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I said, I mean, it's you can tell it was shot and edited by somebody who's very good with the video. So.
Right. Well, yeah, because in real time, it takes longer than that, but. Yeah, it made me look good. That's for sure. It's one way to do it.
Right. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump off because you guys are breaking up on me, and I'm missing half of what you're saying.
All right, Lewis.
So, before I get off, another thing, solar. So I left my solar panels in the garage.
Oh no!
And I'm finding out that I need a lot of power. So I got my generator working pretty good. But there's a guy next to me that has a monster solar array, and he plugged me up, and he's been charging me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's charging me and 2 other buses.
Wow.
Don't they have hookups for at the campsite?
No, we're in a campground that don't have any hookups.
Oh man.
I saw a bus the other day, Lewis, and that made me think of you. It was a pusher, but the guy had taken and had like a second roof on it where it come off of the nose and it angled up and then it leveled off, went to the back, and it was all panels, the whole top of the RV. And the one I had 8 panels on it of good size. And it, once I got the right batteries and everything in there and cleaned everything up, it really started working good, and that's the key. Is you got to have a good battery. And your connections, of course, got to be good and clean, and because electricity's lazy. So if you get some bad wires, corrosion, and all that crap, it shoots all that stuff. But once I got everything in that one, it was. I mean, those 8 panels were enough to keep mine going pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Lewis, I guess the one thing you forgot was to make a list. Because if you had, I guess he can't hear us either. Because if you made a list, I mean, it's kind of redundant, but you kind of go by and you check that list off and say, oh shit, how did I forget? Because we all forget stuff. I forget stuff all the time. So those
right.
So
I only heard we forget stuff. Everything else was chopped.
Yeah, because what you forgot to do is to make a list before you left.
Yeah. I got a list now, believe me.
Now you got a list. All right.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week. I appreciate everybody. So
right.
I'll be back. I'm back on the horse. I'll be on every week for sure.
All right.
You know, now I get everything, tightened up.
All right, Lewis.
And thanks, Ray, for
stay safe.
Take care of it.
You got it.
All right, we'll see you guys. Have a good week.
All right.
Lewis.
See you, Lewis.
All right. Oh yeah. And we stay live for a little while.
Yeah, he didn't kick us off live. Nice.
Yeah, he talked about that earlier. He knew he made a mistake as soon as he made it. He was like, "Oh, damn!" I said, "Yeah, we were pissed at you, but we realized like, hey, we don't have to go anywhere. So what the hell?
Yeah,
we'll just keep doing it."
Yeah. Now I'm looking at all these Jeeps.
Yeah, right. So Brian, I see you're in a different position there now. What's how did you shift? You're not like we don't. It's not the back of the car.
Well, I like I said. I had a timeline or just, writing down. And I want, like I said, get in the car because before the car was up against the wall of the garage. And of course I want to be able to walk around I want to be able to walk around the car. And, so, getting shit cleaned up and throwing stuff away. I mean, I could spend another 2 months doing cleaning up. I mean, so much crap,
Sure.
And so I finally just said, that's it. I got to get going. So I moved some stuff around and I got the car away from the wall. So it's 4 feet off the wall and it's over. The only thing that I don't know if it's in the picture here, it's hard to see, but let's see here. I got that stupid pole.
Oh yeah.
The pole that everybody had in the basement with the
I got
pool
2 of them right here.
Yeah, where the pool table, you had to decide where to put the pool table and what side had the pole,
Which pocket's going to be the dead one.
Yeah. And I got this one stupid pole that is really just kind of a pain in the ass. But I like I said, I had to get going and I'd been drilling and doing, and like I said, I guess really I came down to I found I used to have a rear sway bar on the car, and I've got when I never noticed it or I forgot, but I went to I took that stuff off. And I literally pulled it through the frame rail.
Really?
So I've got like when you put the sway bar in, you drilled 2 holes and you had one of those U-shaped clamps that goes up through the frame and then out the other, and then you bolt it down.
Yeah.
Well, I had pulled that U-shape through the frame.
Wow.
So I have a 3.5-inch slash in the middle of the where it pulled through. So I don't really want to replace the whole frame rail. I can just cut the one section out and weld a new piece in.
Right.
So I doing that, and I don't know. I've been looking. I really like to. I don't know if I want to get it. They have that. I think Eastwood makes it. That tumbler. I mean the sander. It's like a 6-inch drum. It's 4 inches wide. 6 inches. A big drum sander.
They call it an SCT sander.
Yeah, it's pretty.
One.
You got one?
I got one.
How do you like it?
It's nice. I mean,
did you get it from Eastwood or did you buy the one from Harbor Freight?
No, I bought the Eastwood one.
Yeah,
and they've got the adapter on it where you can run the big fat, like I said, the big wide one, or you can put the adapters in it and then run one that's like that, so that you can really get in there and do it. And I mean, it's all the from coarse sanding discs to like Scotch Brite. I mean, they've got a lot of different varieties for drum, for the sanding material.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's nice because it's got the double hand, got the one on the top and the thumb on like a two-handed, and you can do panels with it, and it being that it's round, you can kind of get into like the wheel, some you got some curves and stuff, you can get into it and work it. I mean, it's nice. I bought one, and they're a little cheaper now than when I got mine, but that's everything.
Yeah, I noticed Eastwood, through the Eastwood, but I noticed that Harbor Freight, don't want to say it too loud being live, but they had one, and I went and looked at it, and I haven't personally seen the Eastwood one. The Harbor Freight one looked a little bulky.
So now what would you do, Brian? You go and you find a guy in the parking lot and say, dude, listen here, here's some money, go in and buy me. It's like,
I'd put on a fake mustache and glasses, and then I'd go in and wear a Snap-on shirt so that and then I'd go in and buy it and come out.
I got to tell you something.
Fake glasses and mustache off, and don't worry about
it. You put the Groucho Marx glasses and mustache.
Yeah. I got to tell you, part of my joy in life is like screwing with people sometimes. But we were in Harbor Freight, me and my buddy Kevin, like a couple of weeks ago. They had the sale on the ammo boxes and all, and we're standing there, and there's this guy walking around, and he's got a Snap-on shirt on and a jacket and the whole bit, and looking real serious, like I'm not really here, and he was getting on the line and all. I kind of got myself near, positioned near him, and I just looked up and I said, a lot cheaper shopping here, dude, right? They're on the truck, right? And he was like, oh, what? I'm like, well, come on, really? I said, I said, unless you got that stuff for a present, he's like, oh, yeah, well, I'm just, I know it's for your cousin. You're picking something up for your neighbor.
It's for your helper, don't worry.
Said, don't worry, it's all right. So, guys get so nervous and so freaked out that like you're going to report them to like Kenosha, It's like, oh my God.
So,
hey guys, I got a bail.
All right, Jim.
Take care, Jim.
Take care. See y'all next week.
Jim. See you, Jim.
So, but like I said, I guess really, what did you mini tub yours, Vince?
Well, I hadn't got that far, but I keep kicking the idea around about doing a mini tub. I've got the Kreitz relocation for the springs, to move the springs in and stuff like that. And I had the Kreitz big block headers, but being that setup is designed for a stock shock towers and everything, and mine's gonna, we're doing the AJE K member. I think I can get away with a more shorty or mid-length style header that, because it's, nice. I think I'm going to have room.
They see part of me. Well, again, I'm trying not to get too sidetracked and just say, because like I said, I have a lot of the parts. I've got tons and tons of parts, more than enough. I mean, just like you see my nose. I got one valance there. I got another one behind it.
Yeah.
These fiberglass valance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I couldn't. My problem is I'd buy something and say, well, I really wanted this instead. Or I like this opening because one has the small Shelby opening. One has the bigger opening.
I thought the Shelby one was the bigger one.
No. This one here is
I'm a GM guy.
The opening's different.
Okay.
And going along, like I said, it's just amazing on how much stuff that I keep finding and I keep coming up. And my like I said, a lot of it was Mustang to Fear. They sell one set of a mini tub kit, and it does. The problem that I have, the 65 and 66, when you try to open them up, you run into the problem with the gas tank. You can't run the stock gas tank anymore.
Okay, need a smaller one, I guess.
Yeah, you because you're actually, and then then you get into
You're on mute, Paul.
then you get into changing like you said, the leaf spring purchase, because you gotta move. And like I said, part of me is, if I'm going to do that, I mean, I've got a 4-link for it. I wasn't going to put it in. I wasn't going to go all that, but now I'm like, dude, put the 4-link in if you want to cut it all.
You need
over.
a second pile, and the parts that go to the second pile. Well, this is for the next car. This is for the next. Now I'll tell you something, because my friend Kevin just sent me a link to a 69, a Lucerne blue 69 Firebird convertible with a 400 in it, and I want one of those cars. I want a convertible and a 69. And he goes, yeah, the only problem is it's got an automatic. So I wrote back to him, I said, man, dude, I have no problem rocking that car with an automatic, none whatsoever. He says, well, yeah. He says, but you'd probably be making changes. I said, yeah, the problem is, I said, I'd end up putting like a Global West suspension in it and stickier tires. And then I'd end up probably converting it to a 5-speed and going with fuel injection. And I'd have another version of what I already owned.
Yeah.
And he says, well, I said, yeah, no, it's not, because that's what I like. I said, so it's kind of nice having like different cars, but we tend to gravitate to what we like. So you just got to build a second car, Brian. That's all. Just build another one.
I just want to get this one. I got to get this one. This one has to roll.
This is the one that you fast track and get it on the street and drive it. The other one that can sit on the blocks for 5 years, that's the one that gets the tub job and the bigger, the 4-link and all the other stuff that'll take a longer time while you're driving this one to get parts.
Yeah, well, it's incredible. I mean, dude, I still cannot get over. Every time I turn around, I just keep finding more parts just falling. I mean, and I still have I know I have a shit ton of them at mom's and up in the attic.
Yeah,
that I didn't even bring. I know that there's a shit ton of stuff there
well, just concentrate on what you need, not the extra stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And like I said, I keep going. Like I said, the Mustang, the Detroit Speed. Of course, now that I found this slash or this hole in my
in the frame,
in the frame rail, with the Detroit Speed mini tubs, it comes with the frame rails, because you're moving the frame rails in.
Right.
And it has the angle. You cut yours out, and then you have the angle and move it back. That's why then you can't use the factory gas tank.
Right. But yeah, that's going to give you, that's going to send you down that rabbit hole of a whole nother avenue of parts that you don't have.
And then I'm like, and then of course, when this all was done, I have the fuel cell. I have all the line. I mean, I have all that stuff sitting in boxes for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
But I was like, dude, just put the gas tank in. I did see one guy I thought was fairly interesting, because he did use a stock gas tank. He just cut it. Hell, I got 3 gas tanks, dude.
Right.
With all the extra parts, you just might as well get one of those Dynacorn bodies and build this one back to how you want it, and then do all the crazy stuff with the other. Get a
I know. Well,
all the crazy stuff.
It's funny that you say that, because I thought about that, and then I'm just like, I guess part of it was, I don't know. I know it sounds really weird, but catching that guy trying to break into my car in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
After that, I never left the car. The car never lost. I never lost eyesight of the car.
Okay.
And now, like I said, I'm happy because it's sitting right here.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's hard to explain, but
you know what's really cool. You talk about. I mean, this reminds me of a couple different things. Talk about where all the parts, and we talk about projects. How one thing leads to another, and you turn around and how that happened. I was doing some narration video for this video guy a week ago because he's going to be doing some bigger videos, and he was asking me to lay out, talk about his car and what I was, what did I see when it first came in? What were my thoughts? And I said, "You want me to be honest?" And he was like, "Yeah, I do." I'm like, "All right." So I was scathingly honest, but as we got toward the end, and I went through a couple different topics. Toward the end, I said to him, "We're not done yet. The car's not finished. Like all of them, it's a work in progress." And now the car was framed behind me on the lift because they were doing some body work to it. And I said, the funny thing is with cars like this, not just Mustangs, any old car, you work on something one day and you make progress, and then you turn around and something else failed, or, you just fix something nice and then you look and something else is like, you pick up a piece of carpet and you see a hole in the floor. I said, there's no rhyme or reason. I said, and it's you can't be a weak man to work on these things because you'll give up. I said, that's what happens. Guys give up. You gotta, and it's the deal makers who find everybody else's project and scoop them up. So with that, he's looking past me and he says, "What do I see?" I say, "Well," so we actually cut the film. And then he said, "What?" He goes, "Turn around." He goes, "Look at my car." And it was on the lift, and there's a skylight in the shop. So the light was coming in such a way. He goes, "Do you see something dripping?" And I'm looking, I'm like, "Yeah, from the back of your car, dude, there's something leaking." And we go over there, and like the guy who was working on it was nowhere near the back of the car. I'm like, "The car's leaking gas." It's like, how'd that happen? Like, I don't know, it wasn't leaking when it came in. Well, it's leaking now. And it was probably that neoprene. Actually, Mike, they drove the car, so I think the guy from the shop who drove it, every time he took it out, he put some more gas in it and probably filled it, and filled it up into the neck maybe, and that neoprene was. I said, yeah, that neoprene tube was probably bad, so it just leaked. I found out they did fix it during the week. I said, perfect example, case in point. You're looking at one thing you're doing body work, and now you got a gas leak.
Yeah.
Well, back when my Porsche was running, that's kind of where it took a break. Is I needed a clutch. I took it over to my dad's, and when he realized we'd have to drop the transaxle and somewhat drop the motor, or at least loosen the motor to canter it, he kind of panicked. And I mean, if I had it to do over again, I'd have just tore into it and did it myself. But it's just one of those things. But he took it to a friend from the church that used to be a Porsche mechanic. But the thing is, the guy hated Porsches, and he hated just mechanic work altogether.
Oh yeah,
very smart, very knows inside and out. But he was working on it with my dad, and I guess when he was adjusting the clutch, and the whole time he kept telling my dad I was an idiot for buying the car. I needed to get rid of it. It was nothing but trouble. And anyways, while he was adjusting the clutch, it stalled out and they couldn't get it started. So they towed it to me and said, "It's garbage, it's junk, just get rid of it."
Wow.
So I had it, drug it around in a few moves I had, and I got nervous about it, Porsche prices for stuff. Then finally I was put in a position I had to get it started and moving. Basically, they were selling a house next door, and the realtor complained I had an inoperable vehicle.
Yep.
So I had to get it running and prove to the inspector that it ran. And anyways, when I was forced to do it, I was like, okay, I got to go back to the basics. What does it take for an engine to run? Spark and fuel. And so it ended up being, because it's a 73, it's got the fuel pump that's backed by the motor, that it's right close to the exhaust, and those things burn out. They take a beating from the heat. And I think it was 74 or 75. Brian would know. They moved the fuel pump into the front trunk.
Okay.
And they did a completely different fuel pump too, but the one they changed it to is on the 911s and the BMWs, I believe. But anyways, I went and cross-referenced and got that fuel pump, mounted it in the front trunk, got it fired up, and then I was mad. I was madder than hell for like a week because I was like, this whole time it's been sitting for so long, and then I'm kicking and I'm like, and I'm, back to the basics, and I got myself all worked up and scared, no different than my dad got worked up about, taking the transaxle down and everything, but yeah, that was the beginning of where the Porsche started sitting.
So whatever happened to clutch adjustment?
Actually, he was at the end of adjusting it, because when I took it around, when I got it running, I took it around the block. It was fine. There was no, when I put the clutch in, there was no issue. When I went to get moving, there was no, it wasn't slipping or it wasn't too grabby. It was fine. I had no problem with it.
All right.
But
so you know what? Let's end this version of a live stream now, so we save Lou some bandwidth, and we'll. I want to talk about America's newest Secret Service agent anyway, and we'll be back next week with the trials and travails of Lewis Lee in the schoolie as he makes his way back from Florida with or without a new rear end. We'll find out next week, I guess. Oh, before that, I was
with or without a Jeep too.
Yeah, I thought of you, Brian.
I'm trying. I'll get him
doing some house projects, and I had to find some old tiles, ceramic tiles that I had to. I knew where they were at the bottom of a shelf. Stuff packed.
I know what that is, Ray.
Yeah, so I'm going through these bins of old car parts, and I dig up one of these guys.
Look at that.
Oh, wow. I have one of them. Yeah.
Is that
like, wow. I don't have any of the ones for the glass jars, but I sure as hell have one of these. So maybe I have a hood ornament out of it one day. I don't know. So,
well, you can stick it in your watermelon.
Yeah, there you go. After I soak it in vodka.
That's it. Soak it in vodka and then stick that in and pour it on out when it melts. We used to have the grain alcohol.
So for all the boys, for Vince, for Isaac, for Coach, for Keith, for Macro Man Brian, and for Lewis Lee and Ray Guarino, Motor Mouth Radio, we're out for tonight. We'll be back next weekend. Tune in to Motor Mouth Radio this Sunday because Macro Man Brian is the special guest host again. So we're going to have some fun. And we'll be back here next week. Keep it where you got it. We'll see you then.
Later.
Okay.